Damian Lillard is expected to undergo surgery for a lingering abdominal injury, and in this video, I'm going to teach you exactly what in the world all that means. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Brian Sutterer, and this is your #1 source for learning about the unique medical side of the world of sports. Quick backstory, Lillard has been dealing with this abdominal injury since this summer, and it's been described as this lower abdominal tendinopathy, which probably sounds pretty strange because it's something we've never discussed on this channel. Going straight to our biodigital anatomy tool here, I've highlighted the key muscles that we need to talk through to understand what in the world this is. Now, first of all, we have to understand that the abdomen has multiple layers of muscles. Starting at the most superficial layer, we have the external obliques. We get rid of the external obliques. Beneath that, we have the internal obliques. Beneath the internal obliques, then we're going to have the transverse abdominis. And then all the way beneath that transverse abdominis, we're going to have the true rectus abdominis. The rectus abdominis is what gives you that kind of classic six-pack look. And what's important to understand is it's going to originate all the way up at the ribs, and then it's going to travel all the way down to insert at the pubic symphysis, or the pubic bones. If you feel your belly button and then walk your fingers down, eventually you'll hit this firm bony prominence. That's going to be this pubic symphysis. It's the connection of the front of your pubic bones. You have to understand that this area of anatomy and pathology is one of the most confusing areas of terminology that we have in sports medicine. You'll hear about things like sportsman's hernia, athletic pubalgia, core muscle injury, indirect hernia, inguinal hernia. There's a lot of different terms used here to describe different pathologies that all sort of center around this area in the lower abdomen and kind of the upper groin. These rectus abdominis muscles have a true tendon. It anchors the muscle onto the bone, and so you can have tendinopathy of this rectus abdominis muscle. Now, where it gets confusing is because it can overlap with a lot of these other things we see down here in the pelvis. At this location on the pubic bone where the rectus muscle inserts, you also have the origin of one of your adductor muscles, one of the groin muscles, specifically the adductor longus. Now, in this area, these two muscles actually share this common band of tissue called an aponeurosis. It's kind of some connective fascial type tissue that basically extends across the top of the rectus muscle down onto the top of the adductor muscle. It's this kind of continuous plane. In this area, you can have tearing and injury of that aponeurotic tissue where these two muscles attach to one another. That can be an injury in and of itself. But centered at this area, you can also have isolated tears of specifically the rectus abdominal muscle or the adductor groin muscle. These are the two injuries you'll probably most commonly hear referred to as core muscle injuries, but really they should be thought of as specific injuries in and of themselves, either an aponeurotic plate injury, a rectus abdominis injury, or an adductor longus injury. When you hear about a sports hernia or a sportsman's hernia, what that really is a weakness in the fascial tissue more off to the inside here. There's no true defect or hole in the tissue, but basically stretching weakness of that tissue that kind of overlies this inguinal region can become weak, and that can be a source of pain in athletes. You can also, of course, have your traditional direct and indirect hernias where there is actually a defect there with tissue kind of protruding through, which are, again, a completely different pathology to be managed differently. These core muscle or kind of rectus or adductor injuries often occur in athletes that are doing things like soccer, where they're repetitively kicking across their body, but it can also just be this repetitive kind of overuse type of injury to those rectus muscles. And I suspect that's what's going on here with Lillard. Based on how they've described this as an abdominal tendinopathy, I would think they're talking about specifically this tendon or this insertion of the rectus abdominis onto the pubic bone, just above where it meets up with this adductor muscle. We always try to manage these without surgery first to basically strengthen the core muscles, build up that load tolerance, but unfortunately sometimes they do progress to a surgery. And the surgery can be a wide variety of things depending on exactly what the surgeon finds when they get in there. Typically, if there is in fact tearing or injury of this rectus muscle or the adductor or injury to that plate, they'll truly actually go in there and repair that injury. If there's weakness in that fascial tissue, more like a sports hernia, then sometimes they'll put in mesh or something else to basically give more support to that tissue. Finally, if you really want to nerd out and read more about this confusing area of sports medicine, I'll link below this paper, the Doha Agreement, where a bunch of really smart people got together and came up with some agreed upon terminology for how we describe groin pain in athletes. And they came up with this nice little chart here where we try to basically distinguish, is this inguinal region pain? Is this iliopsoas hip flexor pain? Is it more of like an adductor origin pain or more of kind of pubic related? So dives into a lot more detail about these different areas of pathology if you really want to understand this to another level. That's it for the video. I hope this was helpful to understand a little bit better what in the world this abdominal tendinopathy and whole area of pathology can be, like we're seeing here with Damian Lillard. Let me know as always any questions or comments down below, and until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.